what our founders had in mind and what they envisioned for us as a country when they said we must have a government of, by, and for the people. When they made that promise to us of our right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. These are things, as we gather here, we have the state capitol in the background, the White House just down the street, and many monuments paying homage to those who have sacrificed before us, only to be struck in the face with the reality that, unfortunately, our leaders in office today are not committed to our lives, our safety, or our liberty. Now is the time, though, to not be disheartened by that reality, but rather to be hopeful. As you look around you in this crowd, as you know, there are many hundreds of thousands or millions of people who are watching at home here in America and around the world. We find hope in our solidarity together as Americans, gathering from all walks of life, different political affiliations, but gathering together with optimism in the power of our voices in this election that happens in 38 days. This is our opportunity. Because our opportunity is rooted in our responsibility as American citizens to remember that our founders told us that our government exists only with the consent of the governed. That's us. Everything that we are seeing happening now, the weaponization of government entities, the censorship of free speech, the political retaliation against those who have the audacity to criticize those in power. They are throwing everything that they can at us to undermine our democracy because they are terrified of what a free people in a free society will do to uproot them from their power and bring our interests to the forefront once again of freedom, peace, and prosperity. So I hope you feel hopeful as I do, that as we are surrounded by hate, we confront hate with love. That as we are surrounded by darkness, we confront that darkness with the light of the truth and common sense. And that literally, as we are surrounded by warmongers rapidly beating their war drums, we stand strong and speak with clarity and courage for peace. Now, as you know, I've served in the Army now for over 21 years. And so for me personally, and for all of our veterans and servicemen and women who are here today, we understand how important the responsibility is that every president has to serve as commander-in-chief. This central responsibility to keep the American people safe, to secure not only our lives, but our liberty, to uphold the rule of law, to secure our borders. And so I'll start here with the unfortunate failures and exploitations that are occurring at our borders. We have some people from California here today. I went and visited your border in San Diego not that long ago to go and see for myself what was happening there. And what I saw was a well-oiled machine driven by the cartels and the so-called immigration industrial complex working directly with them and profiting off of this well-oiled machine. Open borders that have been enabled by Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, not to express their compassion as they say, but to exploit those who are coming across our border and being trafficked by this multi-billion-dollar cartel industry. What I saw there were people coming from all over the world, across the border, knowing exactly where to go, not to evade Border Patrol, but to be picked up by Border Patrol, waiting patiently to be loaded in the vans, where Border Patrol have become nothing but Uber drivers for them, where they're quickly processed through a system that often within 24 hours gets them with a free plane ticket to anywhere in the country, often never to be heard from again. What I saw as I stood in a parking lot near a train station where many of these drop-offs occurred were human traffickers who were waiting, women who were being drugged unknowingly, and in their foggy state of mind being ushered into cars, never to be heard from again. What I saw was CEOs of these so-called nonprofits who are working directly with the cartels, with CEOs being paid over $1 million salaries. All of this being done in the name of compassion. But who is the compassion for, really? Who really is benefiting? It is the cartels. It is the nonprofits that are making money off of these people being trafficked without a care for the over 325,000 children who are missing, many of whom are likely being abused in our country today, without a care for the over 425,000 convicted criminals who are in our country, illegal immigrants, not a care for those who are illegal immigrants, 56,000 who have drug convictions, 14,000 who've been convicted of burglary, 13,000 convicted of homicide, over 16,000 who've been convicted of assault. This is who they have compassion for. What about having compassion for the American people? For the communities, not only in our border states, but in every town and every city across the country that is being confronted with challenges, with increased crime, with less security, with social safety nets being stressed beyond their capacity. When I saw that Vice President Harris went to go visit the border on Friday, we all saw it for what it was. 38 days from Election Day. It's not okay to say better late than never. She doesn't get a pass on this one. But when I saw her give her press conference and her speech that was clearly read off of a teleprompter, word for word, it made me sick, because it once again was a demonstration of her arrogance in lying directly to our faces, that after 3.5 years of telling us that the borders are secure, she stands there and tells us that we have to have rules in place that must be enforced to secure our border, and that she as president will do that. She hasn't done it for the last 4 years. We shouldn't believe her lies that she will do anything differently. She's prosecuted and sued and gone after the governors of these border states who've taken action in the absence of federal leadership to do their part for their citizens to secure their borders. And they're still fighting to do that today. Whether it's the border or just about every other challenge and issue that's facing not Republicans or Democrats, but all of us as Americans, it's clear that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden are not interested in solving problems. They're not interested in securing our border. They're not interested in truly reforming our broken legal immigration system. They are more interested in allowing people to illegally cross our borders, but will turn their backs on people like a close friend of mine who has served as a Special Forces soldier for over 30 years, who simply wanted to invite some of his family members who live in Italy to come to his retirement, who applied for a 2-week tourist visa and were denied. more of their policies of America last. We need to send a strong message to them that we will not come last anymore. The American people and our country and our freedom must come first. Who we choose to be our president and commander-in-chief is a critical decision. It always is, but it is especially critical now. We sit closer to the brink of World War III than ever before. We sit closer to the brink of nuclear war. According to the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists, their doomsday clock is set to 90 seconds before midnight. We are one spark away from our demise directly because of the policies coming from the Harris-Biden administration. So it matters very much who we choose as our commander-in-chief. Now, President Eisenhower warned us in his farewell address about the military-industrial complex and their cozy relationship with members of Congress and how they are ruining our country and our future. Unfortunately, and I can speak from firsthand experience, that relationship is more cozy now than ever before. The brazenness of members of Congress conducting insider trading, investing in these very big defense contractors just before they send out another $8 or $10 billion to Ukraine. Just the other day, we had the Pennsylvania governor, Shapiro, who flew in President Zelensky on a U.S. military plane, not so that they could stand together and call for an end to the war. No. They instead went to a factory that makes bombs where Governor Shapiro, with a grin on his face, signed one of those bombs. How sick of a state are we as a country when our elected leaders celebrate death, war, and destruction and sell it to us, the American people, as an American jobs and economic plan? This is Kamala Harris's opportunity economy. More war, more money for the military-industrial complex. My first deployment to Iraq was in 2005. I was serving in the state legislature at the time. I stepped down from that seat and volunteered to deploy in a medical unit where I was confronted with the high human cost of war. It was the first time in my life that I had experienced and seen firsthand the war profiteering that goes on. For those of you who served in Iraq at that time, and I hear it's still going on in Europe today, KBR Halliburton remains one of the biggest defense contractors profiting off of war. We had KBR Halliburton logos on our porta potties, on our tents, and on our trash cans. A friend of mine who was deployed to Poland recently said, nothing has changed. Now, who was one of the people that profited off of this? Dick Cheney. Where is Dick Cheney today? Dick Cheney is standing proudly with Kamala Harris, who has said that she is proud and honored to have his endorsement and his support. Now, for the young ones who may not remember, Dick Cheney was the architect of the entire disaster that has been created with all of the problems that we're seeing play out in the Middle East today and other parts of the world. He was the architect of the lie about the weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. He was the architect behind the regime change war and the destabilization in Iraq that caused such chaos and loss of life and destruction that created the fertile ground for the rise of ISIS. That is the Dick Cheney who Kamala Harris is honored to have his support. So for those of you who may be at home watching, or for those of you who have friends who are still not quite sure who to vote for in this election, I'll make it very simple. A vote for Kamala Harris is a vote for Dick Cheney. A vote for Kamala Harris is a vote for the neocon warmongers. A vote for Kamala Harris is a vote for the military-industrial complex. A vote for Kamala Harris is a vote for nuclear war. I endorse President Trump in this election because to me, as an American, as a soldier, as a veteran, there is only